wanted to show you how I was planting everything here yesterday when I finished these 2 beds. They're almost finished. They're not quite there yet. I still have to put some mulch and fix the irrigation, make sure that every plant is like evenly watered with all the irrigation that I have here going on. But that's the easy stuff. Everything else, it's already done. My tomatoes are planted, my flowers, my dahlias. I'm gonna show you what I did in this bed. I basically save almost, well, it's about a third of the rest of the bed. When I finish planting all of my tomatoes, which are going to get really tall, then I save the rest of the bed for just flowers, for just cut flowers. And I'm gonna show you what I did here in a minute. But like I said in my videos before, the first thing that I wanna make sure is that I have a space for tomatoes, because they are really the most important vegetable in my garden. As soon as I have the place for them, as soon as they are set up where they need to go, then everything else just kind of goes around them. And that's kind of how I have been doing it since I started, because that's really what I want to get. I want to really get a good harvest of tomatoes. So my tomatoes, most of them, at least in these 2 beds, are done. And let me show you really quick how I did that. You guys, I have a bunch of cilantro that it's volunteer. I have not planted cilantro this year. Every plant that I have growing here, as far as cilantro goes, it's just a volunteer. I have some that overwinter. They did amazing, even with the really bad winter temperatures that we had around Christmas. Those plants, I mean, they're so strong. So let me show you what I have in these 2 beds, which are the ones that I finished. I am working on a 3rd bed back there, but it's not quite there yet. Let me show you what I have here in these 2 beds, the one behind me and this one in front of me. They are very identical as far as the plants go, and I'm very excited for it. Okay, so right here I am in the middle of my 2 beds, and I have basically 20 tomatoes in these 2 raised beds. 10 tomatoes over here and 10 tomatoes over here. These cages that my husband built for me, and I think that was my last video, these are the supports that are going to be holding all of those 10 tomatoes. Now you might be thinking, wow, that's a lot of tomatoes for a very small space, and you may be right, but I do prune really hard my tomatoes in order for them to have airflow, to be healthy plants, and for them not to just get gigantically huge. I don't believe that pruning helps with getting bigger, better tomatoes, but it helps the plants in keeping them healthy and not getting disease because they are just too crowded with leaves and everything. But I'll try to show you that throughout the season. I do believe that I have a few videos from the last few years, but anyway, I have 10 tomatoes over here and 10 tomatoes over here. In between the tomatoes, I have some basil, not in between every tomato, but here and there I have some basil. And along the side of the raised beds on each side, I have marigolds. I believe that basil and marigolds do help with keeping the bad bugs away, and I use a lot of basil. I love to use fresh basil, and I also make a lot of pesto that I freeze. And I am going to try this year also to find ways to save the basil somehow so that I can use it during the winter months. And by the way, if you have any tips for me, recipes, or any ways that you like to save your basil for the winter, let me know, because I would love to know some tips for that. So basically from this way all the way to the back, I have tomatoes, basil, marigolds, and whatever cilantro that I have that is volunteer in a good spot, I left it there. I had to remove some others because I had tomatoes, I had basil going there, and honestly I have cilantro kind of everywhere, so I am not worried about, you know, the few plants that I remove. The tomatoes that I have here, like I said, I have 10 on each bed. I had 5 on this side of the bed and 5 on the other side, right underneath the guides, right underneath the panels. And they are planted about 15-18 inches apart roughly. I didn't measure, I just kind of divided. At some point you just kind of have a feel for how far these things kind of need to be planted, and I don't need to measure unless it's something new. And like I said, I have basil here going, but I don't have it in between every plant. I just want to give them a break. And in between the tomatoes, I will say I have about 15 inches from each other, from where the rows are from the tomatoes. I don't have anything planting there. At some point here soon, once the tomato plants start growing, is everything that is just going to be shaded from either side. And I really do not need to overdo this side of the bed. Like, that's plenty of roots, that's plenty of plants in these sections that I don't need to put anything in there. Now if I wish to put something in there, I will probably put some marigolds, but I have plenty here on this side. And the plants that I have for this space right here for the back, I think that I am going to plant some sunflowers, possibly maybe some zinnias. I am not quite sure yet, I haven't decided yet. But the other bed is exactly the same as far as the tomatoes, basil, and marigolds. I have 10 tomatoes, I have a few basils, and I have 2 rows on each side of marigolds. Let me show you the front of the beds. And by the way, if you're wondering where I am standing right now, where I am sitting right now, it's the north side of the beds, and over there is the south side of the beds. So the idea is to put all of the taller plants on the back, on the north side of your beds, where they're not going to be casting any shade unless you want to cast them some shade to other plants. But this works perfect for me. The sun is just coming out from the east, and it's just going to go all the way on the other side to the west, and it's going to provide plenty of sun for every plant that I have here. Let me show you the front. I haven't done anything like this for my raised beds before. Just filling them up one huge section with flowers. I always try to add flowers here and there, but I haven't really done a huge section like this all together. Let me show you everything that I have going on here. And yes, I do realize that they are really close together, but that's the idea. I want to make sure that they are all close together. I am going to provide them some sort of support here in the next couple of weeks. I haven't decided what that will look like yet, but I will show you when that happens. Right here in the middle, I have some purple millet. These guys I started from seed, and you can see how well they're doing. They're just amazing. Around this purple millet, I have 4 dahlias. 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the tall dahlias. I have a bunch of kinds here of dahlias. I will show you once they are blooming, God willing, once they are blooming, I will show you how they look like. But hopefully the grass in between the dahlias will be just popping up nicely. That's the idea anyway. Right here on this side, I have a copper red straw flower, and over there, right, that little guy over there is a rudbeckia here as well, straw flower, marigold, and around that I have some celosia, something like that. A lot of these guys are new for me. Rudbeckia, celosia, purple millet, they are new for me. So we'll see how they do here. Hopefully here in the next couple of months, I can come back here and show you how full and flourishing this area will be. At least that's the goal. And I do have irrigation going here. Like I said, I have to make sure that they are all going evenly around the bed, but I am very excited. And the other side of the bed looks exactly like that. I have the grass, the dahlias, the straw flowers, the marigolds. Very excited about this little section here, because it could be a disaster or it could just be a gorgeous thing. I have stuff everywhere. I'm in the middle of planting most of the seedlings that I grow indoors. Next, I am going to work on these curtain steel beds area. I have a lot of planting area since I added these a couple of months ago, and they are starting to get their little rusting look going on. Very happy with this, but I am going to try to plant a few things here. If you remember, I did the culture technique on these beds. Basically, half of these beds are filled with organic material, wood, branches, leaves, stuff that I cut from my perennials from last year, all potting mix. These are filled with organic material. So slowly they will start to settle down. The top of these raised beds is full with is filled with very, very rich soil, brand new soil. So even if I don't add any fertilizer to the plants that I am planting here, I know that the nutrients in the soil already are plenty for these plants to grow healthy. So I am going to clean this area. I don't really have a plant, but I like to put the plants together in a way that in my mind I will imagine how they will look like when they are completely fully grown.